Well, I think we're going to get started. So officially, as the Chancellor and Senator, on behalf of Senator Cirino, who will be speaking to you in a few moments, thank you all for your significant interest in an idea that we strongly believe can have a real impact on Ohio's future. Again, we have about 200, now we're at 216 people who have joined us to learn a little bit about this. One thing I want to say at the beginning is this is just a beginning, or at least to some degree, a continuation of some of the work that's been done. But we think this is the concept, the idea that is just really critical to building enrollments, attainment, workforce preparation, and ultimately to have individuals as well as our state succeed. I think the Senator and I, we've talked about this a lot over the last 6 or 8 months. And I think we are completely in agreement that we need to reach out to those who have stopped out, paused out on their college experience and may want to come back with a little encouragement, with a little support, and with your encouragement as college, university, and workforce leaders in the state. I'm not going to give a state of the higher education report this morning. Some of you know these issues very well, but we just don't have the demographics with respect to high school graduates. By 2030, we're going to have a continual decline to some degree of high school graduates. And that just means that we have talent and we have adults who can be and must be an important part of Ohio's economic strategy in the future. And so this is what, in part, what this is certainly about. One thing I can say at the beginning is you are not going to learn everything you want to know about this program in the next 20 minutes. But we were going to send out about 1 o'clock today a very detailed FAQ outlining, probably answering almost every question you could think of, with additional contact information about how to get questions back. And so this is to raise awareness. This is to basically announce it and say, we're ready to go. And it fits a lot in with our college comeback issues that my Vice Chancellor, Mike Duffy, has championed in the state. Some of you are already engaged with. If students have debt, if they have other challenges in their families that cause them to stop out or pause out in their career, we want to welcome them back. So this is kind of a key part of the strategy of college comeback, welcoming people back, getting people the credentials, the degrees, the education they need to improve their lives and be productive citizens in our great state. So those details will be forthcoming, but today is kind of the go live in terms of encouraging you to elevate this, to begin recruiting students. If you learn of students that have stopped out or paused out under the rules, under the criteria, then we encourage you to begin making those contacts. On or about November 1, we believe it will be November 1, we will go live with a statewide ODHE-based portal where colleges will then be able to, upon enrollment by the student, will be able to then submit through that portal to us and be part of the Second Chance Grant program, the $2,000 grant. Now, the challenge is going to be, candidly, we don't know whether we're going to have 200 students interested or 20,000 students, and we hope it's significant because there's a significant need, and we want to do the best we can to make the state aware, both college, universities, and communities, and also individual families and students aware of this potential. But it is basically a first come, first serve process. So for those of you who are very interested in this, and this looks like it's a good match for what you want to do to encourage students to come back to your campus, we encourage you to begin now, encouraging them to participate in this program. And we're certainly hopeful that we will be able to accommodate as many students as possible. The Senator and I have already talked about the fact that if there is the demand and if there is a positive reaction to this, and I think he may speak to this in a little bit, that we want it. This is not, even though it's a pilot, we're pretty sure, well, we know that there's a need. And if it's not this pilot, if it's a cousin to this, we want to be engaged with you, learn from you, gain your ideas as to how we can best work together to increase enrollments. Because the last time I checked, you can't really have an attainment if you don't have enrollment. So we need to get people back on our campuses engaged, because we know that attainment, education attainment, is a key to reducing unemployment, to increasing wages, to better healthcare outcomes in this state. And so there's just many positive factors why we want to be involved in this, engaged with you, and to do this. There is a chat mechanism, which I'm not terribly adept at following chats while we're going on. We have some people from our department involved. If you do elevate a comment or a question to the chat, we may be able to respond to it. I'm going to yield to the senator here in a few minutes, and we may be able to answer some of those through the chat. If they're terribly detailed, we may not be able to do that, and may wait till later in the afternoon when we have these questions answered through our email. You're going to get an email from me about 1 o'clock or so. For those of you who typically don't necessarily open the Chancellor's email, understand. Today you may want to. On behalf of Senator Cirino, open the email and learn more about it. And we will ask you then to have a point of contact on your campus if you choose to participate, to have a point of contact where we can engage with that person, and that person can be comfortable in connecting with our people at the department. So the chat is live to a degree, and we'll do our best. Also know that some of the efforts, not only College Comeback, where we've engaged with the college community around the state, also to be eligible, because this will be a kind of last dollar in type of a grant program, is the FAFSA will be part of the FAFSA completion is part of the a part of the enrollment, a part of the application. So just be aware of that for those of you who will look at this process. I know that's more complicated than when the senator and I wish it would be. The federal government has made some changes in that regard, but it's still a complicated process, but necessary for us to be able to engage in these grant programs. So that the Senate Bill 135 was really the impetus behind this, and there was language in the bill. The senator and I worked on those. I thought we had a very collaborative relationship, and then ultimately we are following through on budget language, $3 million over the first year to provide dollars to help with this grant program. And so the senator can speak to the process if he chooses to, but let me just say in introducing him, I'm really thinking about a football analogy with Senator Cirino. If you're in your first year in the NFL, you're a rookie. And not very many rookies. I remember, I think Gale Sayers had 22 touchdowns in 1965 in his first year as a football player. That's pretty unusual. And it's pretty unusual for a senator to make the kind of impact that Senator Cirino has made in this state already in higher education policy. So this is an idea that many of us thought, we ought to be doing this, but it took Senator Cirino's leadership to really make it happen and really make it part of the budget bill. He's for again another football analogy. He's an impact player after only 9 months in the state senate, and even when we don't agree initially on a concept, we find ways to make something work, because debate, while debate is healthy, debate doesn't get things done. Finding compromise, finding ways to collaborate does. And so I just want to congratulate the senator, appreciate his leadership on this. Together we will continue to monitor and evaluate and hope to even improve what we do together to make this work for individual families and institutions who want to participate in and help us build Ohio. So with that, Senator, I welcome your comments, any insights that you have, a little bit of how you came to want to work on this challenge before the state. We'll come back afterwards, maybe answer a question or two, provide a little bit of additional information before we close out this this announcement call. But again, thank you, everyone, all 268 of you, and Senator Cirino, welcome.
Great. Thank you, Chancellor. And thank you for your very kind words. I may be the only 70-year-old rookie that some of you may ever encounter over time, but I do want to thank the Chancellor and his staff for working with me and my staff and others in the Senate caucus to as we navigated through Senate Bill 135, which was introduced March 17th, and of which the Second Chance program was an integral part of that. It morphed a little bit from what it originally started out as in terms of the financing of it. And we were able to change our directions, as the Chancellor indicated, with feedback and input. We were able to make accommodations in terms of the financing of this project to the point where we included the $3 million pilot program in the biennium budget, which was passed and signed by the governor back in June. But really, the Chancellor and his staff, former Senator and Chancellor and his staff, were very helpful in working with us in other groups, the community college organizations. The IUC was very helpful in giving us input and feedback. We didn't always agree on every aspect of Senate Bill 135 in total, but I think we were all together on the Second Chance program in terms of what impact it can have on education in Ohio. I also want to thank my colleague, Senator Terry Johnson, who's chair of the Higher Education and Workforce Development Committee. I serve as vice chair on that committee. And to the Chancellor's comments earlier, I campaigned last year with education as being one of my top priorities. So when I was elected in last November and took office in January, I had already started working on what became Senate Bill 135. And my focus will continue on the Education Committee. And I'm looking forward to things that the Chancellor and I and our teams can work on together to further the educational situation in the state of Ohio. It's great to have such broad participation on this call. I was going through the RSVP list, which has probably increased since I looked at it last. But and it's great to see such a broad range of institutions represented from around the state. I'm particularly glad that Cleveland State and Bowling Green, where I spent some time attending, are involved here, and as well as Lake Erie College, my alma mater, where I was fortunate enough to obtain 2 degrees from. And also Lakeland Community College locally here, where I served as their board chair back a long time ago. But so many institutions here, career centers, tech centers, universities, community colleges, public and private. I think it's just great that you all took the time to hear about this program today. And as you can tell, the Chancellor and I are very excited about this. And we would like nothing better as you learn about it and as you communicate the opportunities with these grants to your student population or those that were formerly in your student population. We would like nothing better than to have to go back to our respective constituents in the State House and ask for additional funding to be able to expand the program. This was a pilot program, and because we wanted to see how much interest there would be, both on the part of students as well as stopped-out students, as well as the institutions themselves. And so if we get very positive feedback, believe me, we will use every bit of energy we have to go back and get additional funding so that we can expand it. Like many of you, and I know there are so many programs out there in our various institutions. I spent some time during my 9 months in the Senate here talking to a lot of university presidents. I've visited some campuses, community college presidents. We've spoken many times, and some of the career centers that I visited. And we all hear the same thing from our local communities, and that is that there is a very severe shortage of manpower across industries and across career functions. And we cannot have, in my opinion, a sustainable economic comeback from COVID and a strong economy for Ohio's future to be able to provide all the great services that Ohio provides. If we let our businesses go without the proper level of employees and the right properly trained employees in all fields in our state. We can't do much in our legislative work on the supply chain issues that are also impacting businesses, but certainly the manpower issues we can play some small role in. Senate Bill 135 is a 68-page bill that was passed in the Senate 3 months after I introduced it, and it passed the Senate by 31-2. So we had bipartisan support. Most of my colleagues on the Democratic side of the aisle supported the bill because they saw what it was going to do for families, for transparency, and for ways to enhance students to look at and understand better choices that they and their families can make in terms of education selection, as well as how they're financing that education here. The bill is now in the House with a representative chair of the Higher Education Committee, Laura Lanise. We've talked about the bill many times, so it's working its way through the House. I would certainly love it if any of you and all of you would encourage your House members to push this bill through. It would be very disappointing not to have this bill completely passed and signed by the governor before the end of the year. There's no reason for it to take that long. We have some issues we're working through with the House members, but certainly some encouragement from our educational institutions to get Senate Bill 135 through the House would be very helpful. And I would certainly, I know the Chancellor and I would both certainly appreciate it here. So we really think that this program that you will get lots of details about shortly or later today is really going to make a difference. It's one arrow in the quiver of things that we can do in the educational continuum. It's not going to solve all the problems, but we really want to take these large number of stopped out students who, for whatever reason, have decided not to conclude their degree or certificate program, to get back into the game. And you know, there's a lot of other programs available to help them. And many of you, I've heard of programs at various institutions that are reaching out to those stopped out students and offering lots of incentives to do that. And I think that's fantastic. This is just one other arrow in the quiver here that hopefully will encourage students with these $2,000 grants. Again, our goal is to focus always on access to education, promote affordability. When we talk about student debt, Ohio is, as many of you probably know, Ohio is 13th in the country in default on student debt. And that's not a place I think we should be proud to be at. Student borrowing is okay when it turns out to be a good investment. Okay. But when you borrow money for a year or two and stop out and aren't in a good position to have a great job and a great career to be able to pay back that debt, it turns out that it wasn't a very good investment. So we can't eliminate student debt, certainly. That has a moral hazard to it. But what we can do is help our students and families deal with proper training and proper completion of programs so that they are in a position to pay back whatever debt that they have. We also, obviously, as the Chancellor mentioned, need to focus on workforce development. And other parts of Senate Bill 135 are dealing with some other aspects of that. But I think this is going to be an important element, and we really hope that we'd love to get your feedback, certainly, when you know more about it. But we're hoping that you will jump on the bandwagon as the Chancellor and I are on. We're driving the bandwagon, and we would like you to jump on with us and get this information out to as many students as possible and encourage them to get back in the game and complete their program. So those are my comments. And again, I really want to thank the Chancellor and his team. The Chancellor and I have had an opportunity to work really well together. And this is a great collaboration example of the administration working with the legislature. It doesn't always happen that way, I guess. but in some other areas. But this is a great opportunity for us to identify very similar goals and figure out how we can drive toward those goals. And to close with a football analogy, since the Chancellor started that, we might have been in the red zone, but we weren't quite scoring as well as or as fast as we should. And a program like this will be instrumental in helping us, get through the red zone and to score something big for Ohio. So we're excited, and I'm anxious to have the information get detailed out to you all and hearing your feedback from it. So thank you, Chancellor.
All right. Well, thank you, Senator. Thank you very much for those very positive words for Ohio when we have members of the legislature who are prioritizing the workforce and how higher education, the all of the above approach. You mentioned we've got technical centers and community colleges and four-year public and independent institutions. You've got a number of chat comments from college leaders around the state. So really, thank you for the partnership. I want to also say that we hope, in a way, I think clearly we hope that there's even more interest in this than we can accommodate today through this pilot. This is the budget bill. This is what we have. But as you look at in the immediate, we want to encourage you to be involved in college comeback. We want you to be encouraging as much in terms of FAFSA completion rates. We're doing pretty well nationally, but we need to do better to make sure that we prove to potential students or stopped out students that there's an affordable path back. And we want to learn as much as we can from you. And for those of you, some of you I know are there thinking, we already do some of this. We already have a program. This will help us, but we're already doing something that we found to be successful at our college. Could you please, if you would, email the Senator and I to let us know about that, and then we may be able to use that as we build this idea, the college comeback concept, the grant program that the Senator has sponsored. We would then utilize some of those ideas to build out and make even stronger our enrollment, our attainment strategies in the state. So please do that. And if you are interested in what we mean by college comeback, please email us that as well, because we will get back with you right away. We've worked with the Attorney General's office. The Senator mentioned debt challenges, transcript issues, and so forth. We are doing the best we can to elevate opportunity for students, those who are leaving our high schools and those who have one of the 1.5 million Ohioans that have some college but not a degree or credential. And we want to bring them over the goal line and make it work. The comments so far on the chat haven't been specific questions. When we say all of the above, everybody who is invited to this has an opportunity to participate. The stopped out universe would be those who may have stopped out at a public community college or a four-year public university. But if you're a private or independent institution, you would have an opportunity, if they've stopped out at another venue, to come back to your campus or to be elevated to your campus. Some of this criteria might change again next year or the year after as we evaluate. But for now, we've included, I think, as many institutions as possible to do this. We have a question on email addresses. Jim Bennett, my chief of staff, what is the best way for us to do that? Someone's asked about that. I think the email addresses might be very, very clear in the data that we're going to show. Here's, first of all, the process and timeline. Thanks for sharing the screen. Today is the kickoff day for the pre-registration. This just means, tell us you're interested and you're going to engage with us, and you have the rest of October to begin recruiting or contacting students. Applications must be submitted. The beginning of the actual live portal is November 1st, and it's outlined here on the timeline. And awarding, we want to begin. This is not for fall of 22. This is for semester starting January 1st here in 3 months, less than 3 months now. And so that's when we want grants to be available and students to be able to enroll. I think there might be one other slide. And there's an email address here with resources at the website, specific questions to the Second Chance higher ed ohio.gov site. And I think all that information will additionally be in the email that goes out at 1 o'clock. All these contact informations will be available right at 1 o'clock.
Chancellor, could I ask if your staff would be able to post our email addresses?
Oh, absolutely.
And if I could also just one last time ask everyone to please make a point to contact Representative Laura Lanise, who's chair of the Higher Education and Workforce Committee in the House, and encouraging her to help get Senate Bill 135 through. I think the Chancellor has referred to this as probably the most comprehensive higher education reform bill that we've had in Ohio in a long time. And we really want to get it to the finish line. So feedback from all of you to the House would be very, very helpful.
Well, Senator, thank you for that. Absolutely. I spent 12,106 days in the House and Senate, and I had not either sponsored one or been involved in this type of comprehensive approach. And so, but this is just very thought-provoking in terms of breaking away from just our kind of our traditional approach. Some of you already have some of these things, so I don't want to diminish that point. But we need to get better and stronger. All of us do. But the one thing I want to impress about this with the senator's involvement and my involvement and our department is when we mean all of the above, and that's why we got so many different types. In this state, we have what we call a diversity of opportunity in higher education. We have so many different possibilities for students. So that's why we thought this was important to include as many institutions as possible, to elevate this idea to as many people as possible and meet their need, meet their desire, where they want to go, where they want to continue their education. So we will provide as much information as we can at 1 o'clock. I appreciate all the positive comments in the chat. Appreciate the partnership with the senator and the members of the House and Senate and the budget leadership. I think one president said, thank Chairman Olslager in the House on the finance. He was part of the conference committee that helped make this happen. And Matt Dolan in the Senate was on. I'm going to see him later today, and he was a part of that as well. So we've had just outstanding collaborative, bipartisan, bicameral support for this, and led clearly by. I don't think we would be talking about this today in the way that we are, though, clearly without freshman Senator Jerry Cirino. So thank you all very much. We will respond as promptly as we can to you all. And again, really appreciate your involvement and your support of higher education and moving this state forward. The governor said at the very first cabinet meeting, we listen carefully to the people of Ohio and we act with a sense of urgency. And in the partnership with Senator Cirino, we're acting with a sense of urgency to make a difference in this area of higher education. So thank you all for being a part of it. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chancellor.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your involvement.